Yeah, doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. All right, we are on. Welcome, welcome, Heroes of the Horde and Adventures of the Alliance. My name is Weirdo, and we're joined not by Hargan for once. Hargan is at a concert with his girlfriend. Today we have with us Big Marsh. How you doing?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Can't complain. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Give us your World of Warcraft pedigree. Like when did you start playing?
Wow, it's been probably back I think back in middle school. So that would be in what would that be 2010, that around that time frame. So I played from. Actually, I can't remember if I really played classic. I just grown up played. Was it Burning Crusade, Wrath? Fell off after that, and then when they redid classic
Oh, for like
vanilla.
the season of Discovery and stuff.
Oh no, not that. Like the first one they did, where
Oh, when it
everyone was
first came
all,
out. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, did that. Had fun for a while, and then after our guild raided, was it Nax for like the 15th time or something? I was just bored of it, dipped out. We killed KT. We beat everything in one go. We didn't wipe on anything. I was just like, I'm done. There's no point to this.
You guys kind of solved it by then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was sort of always for me. I had this discussion with Hargan once, but I've always said that like I had no interest in classic because I was there. I mean, I started. So you guys did the whole classic experience. So I started when I think Encourage came out. But that doesn't mean I rated Encourage because I was a noob.
Yeah.
I don't I didn't hit level cap until Burning Crusade. So you and I probably would have been endgaming around the same time.
Oh, I didn't even raid. I
Uh,
just kind of played around.
I mean, that's pretty valid too.
Yeah. Like what? I had a bedtime and a school night.
I mean, you and I are a similar age. I'm a little bit older,
Yeah.
but like I was only raiding back then because like right when we started, we had it wasn't even my account. My neighbor had an account. Me and one other guy, we just kind of lived over there, and we all shared one account because we couldn't all collectively afford each a computer or each a $15 a month subscription. So like we were all in, and so like it was that friend's house, and then the third friend, his family had a guild, so we were in his guild. They were really cool, and like they knew it was three of us, and they were like, "Yeah, whoever can raid on this night, you can come, you can," and they carried us. Like we weren't pulling our weight, but I didn't know what gearing was. I didn't understand. Like we didn't have like guides back then, like item level and shit.
Yeah. I know we had that, and that was. I feel like that's definitely something was lost in the experience there when you had well before every phase came out, you had the BIS guides already out
Yep,
there.
yep. Fucking
So
disc.
you knew exactly what was the best.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, so if you're playing Alliance, it is, I guess, depending on the class, but if you're doing a warrior or a rogue, you play a human. Was it be a basic human male? Use
Oh
sword
yeah.
spec, and you knew exactly what you needed.
And we all know what we needed was obviously Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker,
Yes. And then Horde was just orcs and axes.
Orcs and Axes. That's the name of my new solo album. But no, so hell yeah, you've definitely played classic, and that's a more recent thing. And I want to touch on that a little bit later. But back in the day when you started in the BC, you kind of just played around, you messed around.
Yeah, it's basically just doing quests and dungeons.
What would you started on Horde? I remember that. What was your first character?
Uh, shit. No, actually, I think, huh? I think maybe my first. I think my first character was a human warrior, and then
Oh,
I
okay.
went on my own and I did a. I remember this. The first character was an undead warlock.
Nice, very nice. I was also a warlock, but I was a gnome. Warlocks are the best, man. That's
I
so
know,
cool.
I love it.
Just like summoning demons and shadow magic and
That, and one of my favorite parts is you got to do it in I do it in BC. I especially did it in Wrath, but was abusing like pet tanking
oh yeah,
and feared and dots so you could kill elites that you should not have been able to kill on your own.
yes. Oh man, that was no the cheese for the pet cheese was amazing.
I heard,
And like if you started in BC, then you would have already like the Felguard would have been a thing. Felguard's awesome, but it did mean you have to go demonology. But I was a kid, so I was like, I want the Felguard. Give me the Felguard.
no, it's rule of cool overall.
Always.
But no, I remember, what was this, like BC? I can't even remember which elite it was. It was one of the, what was it? Is Gruul the Dragon Slayer?
Gruul the Dragon Slayer. Yes, one of the Gron. Yeah, he's in Blade's Edge Mountains, Blade's Edge Peak, Blade's Edge in Outland. Yeah.
But point being, I think it was Nagrand. Like there was a quest where it's supposed to be like a 4 or 5 person quest. Like you go kill a Gron.
Yeah.
But instead, what you could do was you could just because somehow you're faster than it, you could just keep running, dotting it as a warlock and running it to the base so the elite guards there would kill it for you.
That's awesome. I love the cheese.
Or like the demonology, and then you just like quickly summon void walkers, and you would just you just wand and dot as to not get the aggro taken off the void walker, and then when it died, right before it died, sacrifice, summon a new one, repeat the process, keep going.
Rinse and repeat. And that was too back in the day. We didn't even have soul shard pouches. I don't think that might have been a thing, but what we didn't have was a cap on how many soul shards we could have. Like right now you can have 5. And like they just kind of float around you. And the graphics are cool, but
it's like below like your mana bar.
Yeah, it's like rogue energy. Is the simplest way to explain it. That's not a good explanation, but it's an okay analogy.
No, that makes sense. So like the Death Knight runes, maybe?
Similar with Death Knight runes. Also, Monk Chi. I don't know how... You didn't play in Panda.
I played a bit.
Panda's my... Or Monk is my new main. It has been since Panda. Because it's like a rogue if you didn't always have to, like, stop. Like, rogues are like, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Whereas Monk is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2. I like you're always going, and I don't know. I mean, that's reflected in the meters often, but even if it wasn't, it is way more fun to always have something to be doing. And it's not quite a face roll because you get like hit combos. So hit combo is a buff that like so long as you don't use the same ability 2 times in a row, your damage stacks, or like you get a percentage.
Okay.
It used to go all the way up to like 10, and then they took it down to, or no, it used to go up to like 12. It used to go up to some insane number, and they've been slowly lowering it, and I think now it's at 6. Like you can get 6 stacks of that buff, but no, I love monks. It was too. It came about because like I was around Mist. I was starting to lose my patience with WoW's caster gameplay. It's like you've played games since WoW, obviously.
Yeah.
The casting bar, central to WoW's gameplay. Like you cast a spell, it has a cast time.
Mm-hmm.
I, for whatever reason, during like 2012 or whenever that came out, 2011. I hated it. I didn't want it. I was like, I can't play this game. I'm gonna have to play a melee class. I don't like any of the melee classes. So then Monk came out and it solved it for me. I've been playing it ever since. But yeah, no undead warlock. So what drew you to the undead?
Well, it was edgy.
We do love the edge.
It's edgy. Also, I thought it was one of the best. Horde races looked best in armor, I felt.
That's true.
Because I don't know, like for whatever reason, it feels like unless you go female, and as a middle school kid, so that's not an option.
Naturally, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you lose all the male minus undead, you lose boots. Wait, no, actually, I'm wrong. Orc don't lose them, but then you get like the giant Warhammer 40k shoulder pads. It looks a little
That's
ridiculous.
Yeah, oh man, the shoulders in WoW. I mean, they're iconic. They're part of it, but like a lot of my transmogs do not have shoulders on them.
Just because with orcs and Tauren, it's ridiculous.
It is a little insane.
And then trolls hunched over permanently. It's like undead. It's like you get the human. Yeah, I feel like you get the human, like the whole alliance human ability to look good in armor.
Yeah,
but you don't have to be human.
that's fair. Would you say it was annoying, or did it like increase the appeal for you that like your arms and legs were kind of like broken?
Oh, I was fine with that. I felt like it added a little bit more flair to it.
Added the flavor. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've since added an option where you can get rid of that.
Huh.
Actually, this is I didn't plan on talking about this, but sort of a fun aside. The Chinese version of World of Warcraft, that's always how the undead have looked, because there's like a cultural taboo in China.
Yeah, you're not allowed to like see
bones or skulls. So the undead, and actually the amount of editing they do is insane. Not insane that it's like unacceptable, just insane in the amount of work I imagine it would take. And then I don't know who finally put it together, and they were like, let's just let America have access to this if they want in character creation. And so now you can have an undead without the bones.
Huh. How would that work with the Scourge?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Because, I'm talking, like, you have, like, the ghouls, who are bone and guts.
Yeah.
Abominations. Yeah.
What it amounts to is they became really well-preserved zombies. So instead of being skeletons, they were covered in a very tight layer of skin. And they sort of retroactively removed the skulls from a lot of stuff. I think it's okay if it's like a cartoon skull. Like they have the Punisher in. So this is actually a thing with. We're not going to get into this because it's a different topic. But Marvel Rivals right now is a game I'm playing a lot of. They have, and it's a Chinese developers, and they're doing a great job. And they have the Punisher, and the Punisher's got a skull logo. And so people are like, they did the skull week, so we was like, guys, we're never gonna get Ghost Rider in this game. We're never gonna like if it's a skull, he's not coming in. I get they're pushing the envelope. If it's stylized, I think you can get away with it. But and that goes to something they did this new expansion. So the new expansion where we're at right now is 11.0, right? Yeah, 11.0. It's called The War Within. Did you ever see Journey to the Center of the Earth?
You're talking like Brandon Fraser?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that is what this is. We start in WoW's version of Ireland, which is called Dornegal, or the Isle of Dorne. It's full of earthen, so rock dwarves.
I was gonna ask if it was full of gnomes and dwarves.
No gnomes, just the rock dwarves. But they kind of made them into robots.
Did they have Irish accents?
They do not. Most critically disappointing of all, they put them in Dornegal, and they do not have Irish accents.
Oh,
They have very blunt, kind of dry American accents, and they talk like, directive initiated, conversation directive begun. It's
people are more fun if they said top of the morning to you.
Can you imagine an Irish accent doing
A robotic voice?
a robotic voice? I say that because I want it. Like I think it would sell it for me.
I think you should try it.
I don't know Irish. So Irish, yeah, you gotta like elongate your O's, and I could already feel myself going Scottish. I'm much better at Scottish. I think I could do it Australian, like the speak and say voice. Like give me a sentence.
She sells seashells down by the seashore.
She sells seashells down by. Nah, fuck, I'm too drunk. It's not gonna happen. See, I just speak in my normal voice and pretend that I'm doing an accent. But that's, I mean, yeah, we start in WoW's Ireland, and there's this tunnel called the Coreway, and you go down it, and you go into a cave, and then you go down, and that cave is filled with more earthen, and then you go down another cave, and that cave is huge. It has an underground ocean, and it's full of ancient humans from the Arathi Empire. Does that ring a, it? If it doesn't, it's fine. It's some obscure lore.
Uh, Wrathy Empire. I just think the last are like lore. At least with that lore, it's just like, what is it? Everyone's descended from trolls, right?
All the elves are descended from trolls.
Oh, where are the humans descended from?
I could answer that actually. So, the only natural descendants of Azeroth from like the races, well, not the only, because the Tauren are natural as well, but the trolls were the first mortal empire. They all broke off into tribes,
Okay.
and one of those tribes settled next to the Well of Eternity. The trolls that settled there evolved into night elves.
Okay.
The night elves founded a new empire. That empire led to the War of the Ancients, which caused the Sundering, which caused the single large continent of Kalimdor to shatter.
Okay.
After that, nobody really liked arcane magic for a while.
Okay.
So a bunch of formerly arcane practicing night elves split off. That's how we got the high elves. Fast forward a little bit, those high elves become blood elves. Here we are. The humans, that when the Titans came, they created a bunch of servants out of like stone and metal. They created like the giants, the Vrykul. You remember them from Wrath?
Yes, the Valkyries, basically.
Yeah, yeah. The Valkyries were the female ones with the wings.
And then the other ones were, I can't remember.
Vrykul, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that dungeon in Wrath, and they rode the Proto Drakes.
Yep, Utgard Keep, Utgard Pinnacle.
Probably one of
Yeah.
those.
But all of the, like, dwarves, giants, and Vrykul, they all started off made of steel and rock, because they were servants of the Titans.
Okay.
And then the old gods gave them the curse of flesh. That caused them to stop being metal, made them be flesh like we. Earthen became dwarves, giants became different giants, and Vrykul became Vrykul, and then even further they became human, and that's where humans come from. So we are children of the Titans, humans.
Huh.
And orcs are from another planet.
Yeah. Okay. Where are goblins from?
I think goblins are from Azeroth. I don't know what they evolved from. They're from Brooklyn. Very much Brooklyn. Like, keep it real. Time is money, friend. Hey, I'm walking here. They're almost Italian, honestly. Anyways,
We gotta learn this knowledge for upcoming Dragonflight expansion.
that's true. We are gonna have to discuss. Yeah, yeah. A lot of open mouth kissing in that expansion.
Seriously?
Probably.
We're just assuming.
Oh God, man. So like Dragonflight. This is topics for another time. Hopefully by then I have you and Hargan at the same time. But
So we can discuss which persona or Scaly
Oh, God.
represents us best. I want to be a wolf with white fur accented by black named Darkfang.
Argent Dark Snout. The I think there was yeah. I ever showed you like the crap guide to D&D with Joe Cat.
No.
He's fantastic. If I ever get you into a game, which I'm sure will happen, you've never objected to it. We've just never had time.
Pretty much.
And I'm sure Christian's gonna want to do one after his big week next week.
Yes, I will text him.
Yeah.
An attaboy.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a picture of just that cat hanging there.
Just hang in there, big. Send it to him right between the first half and the second half, so
Okay,
you
I'll
know
do
he'll get it during lunch. That will mean so much to him, and it's gonna be really
hang
fun
in there, baby.
Cause like he'll get the big brother talks from like me and Javier, but like, man, Marshall sent me the cat. That's gonna get me through. But anyways, back to Warcraft.
No.
Out of our no more.
That's making me think.
No.
How did the Worgen dodge being furries?
Oh, because they're not. So the furry accusations for the scaly accusations for the what the hell are those things called? Drakthir. For the Drakthir. That comes about based off of their design, and that so WoW's had dragon people forever, right?
Yeah.
We've had actual dragons who can turn into people with their persona, their visages. I don't know if they were always called that, but dragons always had a humanoid form.
Yeah, what's Alexstrasza?
Yeah. By the way, I have to show you my new statue before you leave, which, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, I will keep saying, ladies and gentlemen, I've seen my analytics. It is 100% male. The age range is pretty broken down. We've got from 18 to 25 is 30%. Actually, probably less. It's 20%. 65% is our age bracket, so 25 to 40, and then there's a couple that are above that to say 40s, 50s.
So you're describing
the average WoW player, yeah.
Yes, at this point.
Yeah, but I think it's really funny because I have a bunch of variables in my analytics. There's predominantly the U.S., but a significant number in the U.K., and then a 3 percentile in Romania for some reason. The only thing I can think of is that I do have friends in Romania, and I don't have that many viewers. So if one of them looked, it would. I was oh hey, 3%. That's one guy. But then you go to the gender breakdown, and it is just 100% male. That's the you ever seen that Boondocks joke, where he's the Uncle Ruckus, the guy who's the black guy who's racist against
everyone.
Yeah, no, he specifically hates other black people.
No, I know that, but also everyone.
Yeah. Well, he's he does the 23andMe test, and the results of his tests are he is 102% African with a 2% margin of error.
I remember that episode.
That is my viewers when it comes to the gender breakdown. We have no female for a minute. Because we had a spike on my first video. I don't know if we'll get that back, but
depends how many of your female friends want to be supportive.
Exactly. No, not of females. We've never had a spike of females, but we had a spike of it was 99% male and 1% unspecified. But not once has anyone who's ever on YouTube listed themselves as female ever watched one of my videos. And now I don't know how they undid it, but right now it's back to 100% and there is no unspecified.
Huh. Well, it fits with WoW's population.
It does. Although I would say the here's some lawyer talk, the cross section of the WoW community has diversified in recent years. Not necessarily a bad thing.
I'm trying to think, the guild for when they brought Classic back. My guild had a surprising number of women. Just remember that.
I would say the people
and that
playing,
was 4.
I would say a lot of the people playing retail now are not predominantly women, but the women, the female community in WoW has never been larger than it has been right now. And that sort of reflects in so the Volpera, right? So the war, so what we were saying about the scaly allegations.
Oh yeah, we have
because we've always had dragons, and then we had the Draconid. So those big, burly, beefy, reptilian, but dragon.
Yeah,
humans.
in Blackwing Lair.
Yeah,
those guys.
And they look how Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons, have traditionally described Dragonborn, which is they're dragon humans, but they're a little bit more than that. They have big muscles. They are warm-blooded. They don't have. I think in WoW they have tails. In D&D they don't. I guess they can, but
they have tails in WoW.
Yeah, but that's how we always pictured we might get dragon people. What we got is a much more sleek, angular design, and you could, if you wanted to play devil's advocate, say that because their main theme is flying, they wanted them to have that kind of aerodynamic design. You could be nice and say that. You could also go directly to some deviant art from like 2005 of dragon people having aggressive, illicitly drawn sex. Anthropomorphs.
Okay.
The internet.
Hey, would you use these kinds of adjectives to describe the... Was it Drakthir?
Anthro? Yes.
Smooth.
No.
Sleek.
Never mind.
Tight.
But the Worgen, anyways, moving on. The Worgen. The Worgen didn't get that. Jesus. I've had you on for less than an hour, and already we've gone into the hole. Oh,
you should watch kind of your phrasing here.
You and Hargan together are going to be a nightmare. That's going to be great. That's fine.
Get you demonetized.
Again, we can't pre-monetize. So the last or not the last episode. I'm filming a couple of these. I don't know which order they're going to come out. Filming. I'm recording. We were talking about bourbon and talking about how wasted we were getting. We were like, wait a second. Oh no, we can't say that. But like, YouTube, what are they gonna do? Put us in YouTube jail? No, they're just gonna they would take away our revenue. We don't have revenue. We all have actual other jobs that aren't this. Not to say that you can't have a real job on YouTube. There are plenty of people who I watch, but
yes.
But no, our income is never gonna rely on this. So there's not really a reason to monetize it. We're just doing it for fun.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the Worgen's design was never, at least not until recently. So I think one of the big things that comes from I don't want to deprecate anybody, but it's not my thing. So if I'm being indelicate, I apologize. But from the anthro community or fetish or however they want to define it, eyes are very important. The colorful eyes, the colorful cartoony eyes. Until recently, Worgen did not have defined eyes. They had glowing, red, blue, purple eyes that didn't have any visceral, pupil or visible sclera or pupils, or they were just solid color eyes. A lot of races have that, the elves and the Draenei, undead as well. But that's, I think, supposed to be because they don't have eyes. And very recently, elves, for instance, still don't have that. They've given them a little more definition, but mostly you just have glowing eyes. Worgen now can have those very defined human eyes. That's sort of around the time when things maybe started shifting to this the furry angle.
Then the snout became a lot.
Snout became a little longer. It's also, and this one's just undeniable, the Volpera. The Volpera. Do you know what that is? I know you haven't played it in a while.
I think I remember seeing those. Those are the little it's fox people, right?
Little fox people with the giant ears. There is no, and actually, before I say this, I'm gonna put out a hot take. I fucking love the Volpera. They have such a cool little, I love them culturally. I love them aesthetically. They have such a unique little culture because they are WoW's gypsies. And before anybody jumps on me, my family's way back, we're Roma, so calm down.
You talk about how you really love their culture.
I really love the Volpera because they have that that very we could even get away from it. So the travelers, they have the caravans, they have the decorations. They chose to integrate it with llamas. That's a little weird, but it's not, it doesn't ruin anything. But they get to be the traveling people, or did you ever mess with the Wheel of Time? It would be
no.
Okay, it would be the Tinkers in that, but the people with the caravans, the Dalish maybe even in Dragon Age.
Yes, no,
similar there. Although the Dalish incorporate a lot more Celtic themes. I love the Volpera. I think they're very cool. I think what they bring to the Horde is very unique. All of this in mind, they are 1010% furries. They are.
They're very anime.
They're super anime. They're super cutesy. all of their mannerisms are very just towards that cross section of the community. Or yeah, and I don't begrudge them that, whatever. It's whatever, it's your fantasy. You come enjoy it, and I think the Volpera can coexist without ruining anyone's fun. But there's no denying that is why they were added. A bunch of people wanted to play as the tiny furry fox people. They got it, and that's fine. But I think if you ignore that, I think they're very cool. Like the little. They don't have any good characters. That's the issue. They have one who is the manic pixie dream girl archetype.
Yeah.
It's like she's driving the caravan and she's got 2 llamas and she's like, Dolly and Dot are my best friends. They pull. And then one of the trolls in that quest line helpfully tells her to shut up.
So she's just Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah, but worse because she's high pitched. I'm trying to think of a good celebrity comparison because you're on the right track.
It's like a Zoe Deschanel-esque character.
For sure. Yeah. Oh God, what's a good one? What's a good
I'm trying to think of an actress like with a really high-pitched voice.
Yeah.
The kind of one you're talking about.
I mean, it might even be this probably isn't the case, but like any character in the '90s voiced by Tara Strong, Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls.
Oh, that would be painful.
That's kind of what that character sounds like. She is the most prominent of them. She's not the racial leader, but she is the most prominent Volpera, and she is just irritating. It's that kind of like, so they did this. You remember Chromie? The bronze.
Oh yeah, I
dragon,
remember. She was the one.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. She's in the what was it? Western Plague Lands.
she is.
You
Yeah,
get like trade.
and
I can't remember
yeah.
what you trade. You trade like something with her, and then she'd give you.
Yeah. Well, Chromie used to be one of my favorite characters, and she still is. But like, what they did with her is they infantilized her. So like, where she used to be kind of like she was plucky. She was lighthearted and goofy, but she was always competent, if that made sense.
Yes.
Like, you didn't play in Legion. Was this in Legion? It must have been in Legion. Because it was good. But there was this little scenario, it was like a timed challenge, and it was pretty hard, called The Deaths of Chromie, where they dropped you in a newer version of Dragonblight. Remember Dragonblight?
Yeah.
And you start in Wormrest Temple, and you have to run on a timer to all 4 of the dragon shrines and stop these like missiles that are getting launched at Chromie because they're trying to kill Chromie.
Uh-huh.
And she was fun. She showed up and she's like, "Wait, guys, hold on, this is when I'm killed." She runs up, "Hi, me," and the other Chromie is like, "Oh, hey, me, what's going on?" They're like, "You're about to die." "Oh, that's bad." Silly but funny. Whereas in Dragonflight, she is saccharine, she is cloying, she is obnoxious, and she's also stupid. That's kind of the theme. And again, I'm gonna try to get away from Dragonflight fairly soon because I want to get back to you and your experiences. Mostly because like we're not really there yet. There's plenty to say, but like we've got to work on Classic.
Well, you don't want to talk about Chromie while 2 Drakthir make out in the background, just complete some weird DeviantArt fantasy.
I mean, what is WoW if it's not fulfilling the weird fantasies, right? I mean, all it is Warhammer 40K or Warhammer Fantasy reskin to be someone's different fantasy. But yeah, that's a pretty particular fantasy that I never wanted to see. But hey, at our peak, there was 7 million of us playing this game. Maybe some of them wanted to see it.
How many of those are bots?
Good point. Good question. I don't know. I mean, there's probably more bots now than there are players. I know there's still gold farmers, but
those are there in Classic.
Yeah, they've always been there. They used to be a lot easier to buy. Now you can get your account permabanned for that. And since I've had this bitch since fucking God, 2005, 2006. This account is almost as old as I am. So like, I'm not gonna do anything stupid and get taken away from me. But even if I don't always pay for it, like sometimes I let it lapse and it just sits there. It's always there. But no,
I can take a real hard hard pivot then. I remember, was it? You asked me this question, like, think of this before. Favorite dungeons.
Yeah, yeah, let's do that. Let's get off of that. Because I have more to say about Chromium, but I can say it later at a more appropriate time. Because she's one of the best characters, but it's... Yeah, all right, dungeons. Let's do dungeons. So you started in BC. BC back then was just classic with a little bit more. So you would have had most of the same classic dungeon experiences that we all did. Yeah.
I think it's the same with Wrath too. It's just
Wrath too. Yeah, it's when Kata's when
like
we lost it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Kata's when everything changed.
And here's a wild thought, right? Is that like Kata was considered like the new shiny update to World of Warcraft's world. There are less updates from vanilla to classic than there are from classic or from sorry. There are less updates from vanilla to Cataclysm than there are from Cataclysm to now. So you had 1, 2, 3 versions of World of Warcraft before they were like, let's wipe the slate clean and start again. Since that fresh start, there has been, if we're not counting that fresh start, there's been Mists, WoD, Legion, Battle for Azeroth, Shadowlands, War Within. And we're going to get 2 more. So they did 3 and they were like, nah, fresh start. They are now doing 7.
Wow.
Yeah. It's due for an update. That's one of the issues in Cataclysm too, is that it focused so heavily on the Cataclysm when it updated the entire world. But anyways, dungeons. Stick to dungeons. Alright, so dungeons. You were an undead warlock when you really got going. And let's do this. What was your first dungeon, if you remember? And if you don't, or if it's not that interesting, what was your favorite dungeon?
I can't really remember all I remember is when they relaunched it. It's primarily what I remember, but has not changed some of the favorite dungeons that I actually do remember playing all the way back then.
Alright, yeah, so what are some of the favorites? What are some of the good ones?
Shadowfang Keep.
Yep.
Wailing Caverns.
Okay.
I think, and then Zul'Farrak.
Oh, Zul'Farrak, yeah. That's a good one. So, alright, let's get into that. What was so cool about Shadowfang Keep for you?
Well, with Shadowfang Keep, like, first off, it's Horde specific.
Yes.
And, like, at that level, so, like, what is it? Like, you're around, like, if you're really, really going for it, you're, like, level 19, but you're probably around, like, level 20. So, like, back in those days where blues were not dropping from the sky
Right.
constantly or just being flung at you.
When rare items still felt rare.
Yeah. It's one of the first ones you could for sure get would be the Seal of Sylvanas.
Oh, yeah.
8 stamina, 3 strength for some reason, or is it 3 spirit?
I'm surprised you're pulling out the stats.
I just remember, like, the 8 stamina part. Big deal, because depending on the class particularly, like, you needed that 80 health.
You did, yeah. God, it was so... Just that little bit was so helpful.
Yeah, and you would wear that ring for an absurd amount of time. But, like, Shadowfang Keep did not have the best gear.
No.
Unless you were a caster and you're just needing to kill Argyle top, 10 times to try to get everything. Would probably lose it on a roll to someone who didn't need it. Like some druid who's trying to off-spec.
They fun fact, they retroactively added lore to Argyle later on, around Cataclysm.
Seriously?
Yeah, so he's from Gilneas. The kingdom that got turned into a Worgen.
Uh-huh.
So they made it so the reason that Shadowfang Keep was happening was because, again, the king of Gilneas put at that wall, and Argyle, who was like trying to weaponize the werewolves in order to fight the undead, he basically just went crazy. And like, It was interesting. It's one of those good rewrites that adds context but doesn't ruin anything. Like him being from World of Warcraft's like Cockney Britain doesn't ruin anything. Like it's just kind of, oh, that's cool. It also doesn't really add much, but they put it in anyways. But yeah, okay, Shadowfang. What about Wailing Cat? So it's funny that you mentioned that it's horde specific. Because we're writing the new lore. That's the whole premise of the podcast, or of the non-pod. The podcast is just for us to have fun. But of the scripted videos, we're going through the lore and rewriting it. And so I'm trying to go through right now. It's actually proving to be this annoying speed bump. Because, like, the story of WoW is told through dungeons and raids.
Uh-huh.
And those are the fun parts, that's the exciting parts. But, like, you can't ignore the questing zones either. Because they're there to lay the foundations for everything. But WoW on launch has so many questing zones. It has 40. That's the actual number. It has 40 zones. Not all of them. Not all are equal. Silithus is one of those zones, and it basically had nothing until
AQ40.
Yep. On Garage, and even
then, it had nothing.
Yeah, there's still nothing in it. They just put a raid there. But Winter Grasp is another one that it has quests. And I imagine it was supposed to have a point.
No, it only exists to farm. I can't remember what it's called, but that stupid thing that they would make you. That's 20-minute cooldown. 20 minutes. So you'd have to farm before raids.
Yeah. Oh, Winter Spring is what I meant. Winter Spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
up
to
top.
farm the stupid. Was it Timberfur? What's it called?
Timbermaw. Ooh.
Yeah, the Timbermaw. My younger brother, he got exalted with that twice.
He did it twice?
Yes.
How? Why?
I don't know. Because he was PvP. He was doing PvP grinding. He got ranked 14 twice.
Damn.
Yeah, so he was grinding that. So, in the middle. So he would just, while waiting for queues, he would just go kill them.
I mean, that's wild, but also I grinded out the reputation to get because everybody had the Nether Drake, so I wanted to be different, so I got the Nether Ray. That was the dumbest, longest grind of my life. I regret it. I still have on my not on my main, but on my original character, I still have it on my hotbar. I was like, I refuse to take this off ever. I'm never gonna ride it again, but he will always be able to summon it at a click. It's funny that you mention this is all kind of tying in. It's funny that you mentioned the Timbermaw, but again, trying to go through, tell the whole story. The longest thing it's going to take me to put together is Classic, because there's 40 zones that they got to go through. There's essentially 6 paths, because there's 6 different starting zones.
Uh-huh.
Even though there's 8 different races, 2 of them double up on each faction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gnomes and dwarves, short kings stick together.
Yes, sir. And then orcs and trolls.
Thick boys.
Thick boys. Trolls are the tallest race. They're actually taller than Tauren.
Huh.
And that's even before they stand up straight. And then it doesn't even compare. But the 2, the 6, and I'm trying to balance one that each. I'm not balancing it too much. Like, it's not going to be there's 6, each one gets a certain amount of everything. But I'm trying to create just a little bit of symmetry between the 2 factions, if not all 6 races. Or all 6 to 8 races. And, frankly, the Horde get more dungeons. You guys have more dungeons. And I was like, how do I make this balance? And one idea that I had that I stuck with for a while before I realized how wrong it was to somehow make Shadowfang keep Alliance. Yeah, you guys can't see the face you just made when I suggested that, but it was a hard no. And I realized that pretty like I kept it there, but like the first time I ever came back to consider it again, I was like, I can't do that. That's like the first undead dungeon.
Yeah.
I know that
Dude,
was
really?
it Scarlet Monastery is in your starter zone, but that's not a low level dungeon.
No, that's... Man, that must have sucked for Alliance to get to.
Yeah.
Like, what? They gotta basically... Yeah, they got Wetlands, Arathi... Wetlands, Arathi...
I have PTSD from Arathi Highlands.
Silver Pine...
And Stranglethorn.
Then you get to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a rough time.
Yeah, and there
you don't even have any vendors near, too, so, like,
No.
you just...
There was no way for me to justify Shadowfang Keep being, and I was trying to be like, well, the Worgen, and then we was like, no, it just doesn't work. And it also, like, that would deny, because the Worgen joining the Horde, or joining the Alliance, part of that intro story, the critical element, is the undead invading Gilneas.
Mm-hmm.
You lose, there's a certain sting that you lose if the undead players weren't the ones who took out Shadowfang Keep. So that didn't work. So I was trying to think of other things. And it's funny that you brought up the Timbermaw faction. I started looking up cut content for Classic. Like things that were clearly in the game that didn't ever amount to anything. For instance, the new season of Discovery, we kind of touched on this. I think we touched on it in the part of the podcast that got cut because of the double voices. But Karazhan Crypts. That's the new raid in Season of Discovery.
Yeah, and Dead One Pass, right?
Yep. So Karazhan was always gonna be a raid in vanilla before they had the idea to do expansions. And they were like, we're just gonna keep adding content slowly. We'll add a dungeon here, a raid here. Like that's how we'll do this game. And they did it for 12 patches. Which, considering the average expansion gets 3, not bad. I actually go into this in the script, like, not all of those patches, similar to all of the zones, not all of those patches are equal. One of them is just called the Storms of Azeroth. They named it that because the team had worked really hard on making weather effects. And then they implemented them, and they were really proud of them, so they gave the patch the name Storms of Azeroth. But yeah, some of the stuff you can see, and I think you can still see it in like current era Classic, so like you were to go into a server, there are instances that are there in the game that are not used and that you cannot get to.
Huh.
One of them, there's one in Stormwind that I still don't know exactly where it goes. There's so many theories. People are like, that's where player housing was going to be. Nobody knows if that's true. There's one underwater in Ajara that people think was going to go to like maybe a PvP battleground that never got made, called Ajara Crater.
Huh. Then you also have the tree.
Which tree?
That giant tree is like Mount Hyjal.
Mount Hyjal, yes.
Yeah, with like Archimond.
Yeah. And that zone was fully made, but not in the game. Yep. They fully mapped out that zone. One of the... Again, comes back to Winter Spring, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is one of those locked, unused instant portals in Winter Spring. And I think it's been decided, never officially, but kind of by the community, that there was going to be a Hyjal raid. And that was how we got into it. But there's Timbermaw Hold, right? And Timbermaw Hold is a tunnel underneath. Like, you can get there in Fellwood. It takes you underneath. You can go to Winter Spring. It's this strange, like, crossroads underground.
It's a little secret.
It's not a secret.
It's a little secret tunnel.
Little secret tunnel? Oh, yeah. Do you need to sing the song of your people?
Nah.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You can. We can't get copyright struck.
Secret tunnel.
Through the mountains. Anyway,
Timbermaw Hold.
Timbermaw Hold. Well, it goes like a crossroads. So there's one entrance, another entrance, another entrance, and then a door with no seeming correlation. And some people are like, and actually there's this part of Ajara, another zone without really anything in it, that has a door called Timbermaw something. There's Timbermaw Gates, Timbermaw Fortress, Timbermaw Hold. It's changed in Cataclysm to Blackmaw. But there's a lot of speculation that the Timbermaw were supposed to have a dungeon called Timbermaw Hold, or like the barrow dens or something under Hyjal. And the Furbolg are so cool, but they really don't have a presence in WoW at all. In a lot of ways less than some of the mob, like Murlocs are more important than Furbolgs.
You have Murloc dungeons.
Exactly.
Was it Black Fathom Deep, and
Black
then
Fathom Deeps, yep.
I can't think of anything else outside of that.
That might be the only one.
Wait, what's the one with N'Zoth? That Murloc's in it?
N'Zoth, the final boss of
whatever.
Battle for Azeroth?
Yeah. I could have sworn, like Ajara, like Murlocs.
Naga. There's the underwater snake fish people, and then there's Murlocs, which are the.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I'm saying, is it like the dungeons with Naga? Don't you typically have the Murlocs just kind of hanging out?
Probably,
there too?
Yeah. You usually have a couple.
And you get like a Murloc boss.
Yeah, just Murloc adjacent Nagas. Yep. Yeah, that's decent. And actually, Black Fathom is a Naga dungeon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the last boss is I can't remember its name. Akuma.
Akama?
Yeah.
Oh.
Akamai or something like that. The giant like Hydra.
Oh yeah.
Then before that, you have like, was it Kelthus the Dreamer?
Mm-hmm.
Serikis the
Leotheris. The blind, right? Or am I thinking something else? Hold on.
I don't know. It's like the theropod? Whatever like the dinosaur looking things are.
Oh yeah, dude, it's
like Serikis is under there. Got, was it Baron Aquinas? Can't remember what the Murloc's called.
I have such a poor memory of Gamura, I believe.
Oh.
That's a silly name. Oh no, that's the turtle. The turtle is Gamura.
Yeah, and then you have Lady something.
Saraves. Zanaga, right?
Yeah.
Yep, Sea Witch. And then Gelahast, or Gelahast, that's the Murloc. Lorgus Jet. These names. Lorgus Jet, who looks like a cultist, I think.
Oh, which makes me think of one of the more annoying parts of all the classic dungeons, which were random named mobs that were supposed to be bosses that dropped nothing. Or they dropped greens.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I get the whole idea of, like, you want rare to feel rare. But if you're going to a dungeon, just have it be blues. You're already competing against 5 people in RNG.
Yeah. Oh, man. And, like,
I get it for Ragefire Chasm. That makes sense, you know? It's like...
It's your baby dungeon, yeah.
Yeah, you're running there, like, what? Like a level 12?
I would say... Yeah, probably in Classic it was a 12.
Like
now
12, 14.
Now it's earlier. I think you can do it at 8.
Yeah, like, you're running in, like... You got, like, 2 talent points that don't do anything. And you're having to stop every fight to drink. And your healers run out of mana halfway through the fight, so you're just kind of hanging.
Do you remember running out of mana? That does not happen now. It's basically impossible. And so it's a little bit... It makes you wonder why we still have resources. Like, a game like Guild Wars 2 doesn't have that. Like, it has global cooldowns. Or each one of the spells has a cooldown. But, like, it doesn't have resources because resource management isn't fun. It can be. It can be a challenge to a game, but like if you're in this world, like part of what you're doing is immersion. And like if you want to establish fun, dynamic combat, oftentimes maybe foregoing that might be the way to go.
Yeah, like just having to buy major mana pots is not fun.
Yeah. And again, especially now, like you really cannot run out of mana in WoW. You just can't.
Or like warlocks, like life tap being a part of your cooldowns.
Life tap used to be the thing that like separated mages and warlocks. Like
I thought it was also the fact that you couldn't drop threats, so you just kind of
that too.
you crit too hard. You're like, yep, it is my time.
That's actually a bad summary of that. Like before I started playing, I didn't know how to play. That was a stupid sentence. Before I got good at playing, I didn't understand that you needed to just buy all of your spells. Like I would go to the warlock trader and be like shopping, like, ooh, I like this, I like this. I didn't understand how good life tap was, and I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to have to lose health to get back my mana. I'm not gonna buy it. And then I was in a dungeon. I think it was in Durnholz Keep would have been BC. I don't know where I was, but I know that I was playing, and someone I was playing with got really mad at me for not having life tap.
No, I've had the opposite. Healing in dungeons with 3 warlocks.
Wouch. Ow.
It's painful.
That's a thankless job.
Yeah.
That's
They don't drink, they just life tap.
That's like a poor hooker on the day that sailors come home to the docks. Like that's bad.
Yeah.
You just gotta keep sucking and sucking and sucking, and they're never gonna be happy.
Okay.
Well, there goes that. There goes propriety. But yeah. So, anyways, getting back on fucking track. Timbermaw Hold, a dungeon I believe that was cut. I'm adding it back in to give the Alliance that one more dungeon, but also it still doesn't quite even out because I think you guys had 2 extra.
Stockholds barely counts. You have that same issue again.
Oh, Stockades, yeah.
Yeah, of like everything drops uncommons for some reason. Especially at that level, that's weird.
For the gearing, yeah.
Yeah, because like your level like Stockades.
Stockades was
like late 20s, so you're like level 20, maybe like mid late 20s, so you're like level 26 to 28.
Stockades was higher, I think. Like so, Ragefire Chasm was very, very low.
Yeah, it was like the first dungeon you could do. Alliance had Dead Mines.
Alliance had Dead Mines, but like
really cool dungeon.
Great dungeon, but like not convenient to get to like Ragefire Chasms was.
Oh man, my brother used to make people really unhappy. Played a troll hunter. He would then proceed to sit there during the escort quest and wait till people are right at the end of escorting the Defias trader and kill it.
Damn.
You just want to ruin someone's day.
Oh, you guys are such trolls. And like, I can't even call you like. That's not even an insult because you were literally playing a troll.
You just think about it. Like, you sit there, waiting your turn. Like, not even waiting your turn. Trying to outclick everyone to get the quest for like 5-10 minutes. You make it all the way there. Then someone just yeets them.
That's so.
Yeah,
That's sinister. That's diabolical. That does sound like your brother. That sounds like exactly something he would do.
Point being, though, it's a really awesome dungeon.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I still like Wailing Caverns better, though.
Wailing Caverns is another classic that I was also trying to figure out. I wasn't trying to figure out what to do with it. Like, I never considered making it Alliance. Maybe I thought about it because it's like it's the first Emerald Nightmare dungeon.
Yeah.
But it's also very clearly a Horde dungeon.
When do you get so the Emerald Nightmare, like what? You get that in Wailing Caverns, you also get that in Sunken Temple?
Yeah.
Do you get it in Sunken Temple? Or
yep,
I'm trying to think what else gets that.
You get it in Sunken Temple because of Irenicus. So Ysera, do you know the dragon aspects? If you don't, it's fine. Like there are 5 dragon types.
Is it like what was that was it Altamon and Wrath of Lich King, where like that's a dungeon or something, where it's like the dragon that's asleep, or am I thinking of something else? Oh no, I'm
Oh.
thinking of like the Ice Crown Citadel. It's like the green dragon that's
Yeah.
asleep.
In Wrath, it's the healer fight where you're not trying to kill the dragon, you're trying to raise the dragon. Like you're trying to heal the dragon back to full health while everything's trying to attack it.
Uh-huh.
That was actually a really, I know people didn't like, so people, I knew a lot of people who liked it. I think the community kind of universally agrees they hated that encounter. I thought that was really cool. That like it was a subversion of raiding. Every time WoW tries something new, like its players hate it, and then it goes away.
And then what?
Like,
They bitch about it being like, oh, it's
everything's
always the same.
Yeah.
Except when it's different, then I hate it.
Yeah. A decade later, we go back and we look at the healing fight, and I was like, that was a really cool idea. They didn't do it right, but I wish they had. It's like, well, they're not going to, because you guys wouldn't shut up. Go back and DPS, you fool. But no.
So, Emerald Nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so there are 5 kinds of dragons. There's red, blue, green, bronze, which is yellow, and black. The leader...
What about white?
Huh? No white dragons.
Pretty sure there's albino dragons you can ride.
Yeah, there's actually a lot as far as like mounts. There's a lot more variation on the coloring. Is there an explanation for that? No.
What about purple?
Nope. But is there a violet drake that you can get? Yes. Is there an in-universe explanation for how that exists? No.
So, like, is there a difference between the red drake and the maroon drake?
They're both red.
Is there a burgundy drake?
Probably. Still,
you have subsets of the colors.
Still, like you could have whatever. So, like one of the places that is in the control of the Red Flight is called Vermilion Redoubt. That's the Red Flight, but they're using a shade of red to designate their stuff. They're not a restriction on like the scale colors. It's just the faction names. It's like we're the Red Flight. We govern life. We protect life. The Green Flight, those dragons, they protect the Emerald Dream. Their leader is Ysera. Her mate was Irenicus. Irenicus is the final boss of Sunken Temple.
It's kind of weak.
Hmm?
It's kind of weak then, like the mate.
Oh, the mate? Yeah.
It's like what,
well,
like a level 52?
If it helps, it's the shade of Irenicus. It's his soul, not his actual himself. Although we fight it, kill it, and then he's never seen again. So
what shade of green is he?
Huh?
What shade of green is he then?
I don't know. Pale. He's see-through. Just green. You being pedantic with colors. You're such a lawyer.
Whatever.
But yeah. So yeah, no, you get the Emerald Nightmare in that, and what I tried to do with the dungeon symmetry is give, because at some point all 3 paths have to come together to like make the Alliance path and the Horde path, right?
Right.
So I tried to give each one a convergence point, and the Alliance one, it's not a good one, but it's Sunken Temple, because it's in the humans' territory, more or less, but it's a pretty fundamentally Night Elf zone or a Night Elf dungeon.
Uh-huh.
I guess it's pretty troll heavy too, because it's about like it's the Temple of Adal Hakar, and Hakar is the final boss of Zul'Gurub.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you got like the trolls and the night elves are typically like going at it.
They do. In early WoW, it was like the Night Elves and the Orcs for whatever reason, just more of a territory thing, like Warsong Gulch. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's Orcs versus Night Elves.
Who are troll like early WoW then? Who's like trolls usually against?
Early WoW ignored trolls to the same way that early, current, and future WoW ignores gnomes. Everyone ignores gnomes. Except for like 10 minutes in the Siege of Orgrimmar, where the leader of the gnomes burst in on a rocket-powered mechanical ostrich, kicked down the door, and was like, "Let's do this!" And after that, we forgot about him again. They gave him a mech. They gave him a Gundam, and I appreciate it for that. I'm glad he has a Gundam that makes him slightly taller than the average human. And you know what? I don't play gnomes anymore, but as an original gnome, I can live with that. We got our leader has a Gundam. I'm happy. Oops.
Okay, you were telling me. You're explaining to me how
Oh yeah, the
early WoW ignored trolls.
early WoW did ignore trolls
The
and
red-headed
gnomes
stepchild.
of the Horde. Yeah, they didn't get a capital. They didn't even get it. Gnomes at least got a dungeon. Like we got Gnomergon. Trolls didn't even get that.
I feel like they got like everything that had a Zol in front of it.
True, but those, like so, that's sort of the thing about trolls is that trolls aren't just the playable trolls are the Darkspear trolls, which are kind of like the island trolls.
Yeah, they're like Jamaican.
They are.
They say Mon.
Mon, yeah. You know what's funny? Is I don't remember who this was, but somebody got really up in arms about like trolls typing out in like basically writing how they speak in prose, but the way that they write it is like that's so offensive. I was like, as a cook for like 15 years who worked predominantly back of the house with Jamaicans, that is how they text.
Seriously?
Yes. Like they don't write I or my, or they write me and they write it MI.
Huh.
Like that's just how they text. Nothing wrong with it, but it's like to get offended because it's like, oh, you're making them sound. It's like, no, that's how they text.
That makes me think. It's like what is it? Like Hispanics, like rather than haha, it's ja ja.
It's because the J makes the H sound.
Yeah.
Bro, like
I always found
one of your closest friends is Javier. You know how his name is spelled.
Yeah, Javier.
Yeah, Javert. And I'm Javert.
Javier.
Javier Hibben. Oh man.
Okay, so
But yeah, so the trolls got ignored a lot. I mean, they got that's actually an interesting point. One of the things I was trying to do in making all the symmetry was I also wanted to give each race like it's time to shine with a dungeon. Darkspear trolls don't have one, so I gave them Zul'Farrak. That's not a great because they don't really have anything to do with that. That's this a whole other cast of trolls, sand trolls.
yeah.
But I figure we gotta give them something, so they got that. Later on, they'll get more. Later on they get a war chief, so there's that.
Oh yeah, they also have like Well, they have Sunken Temple.
So yeah, but I'm giving that to the Alliance
line with.
Oh, I guess then let me ask this. This is a good.
Like the egg. I can't remember what that was. You know what I'm talking about? Like the.
No, I don't. Oh, did it hatch into like the avatar of Hakar or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a whole thing.
Yeah. That's. So you're right. I can't take Sunken Temple from the Horde and make it purely Alliance. That wouldn't work. Well, here's a good point. Or here's I've been considering that because the convergence point I made for the Horde was Stratholme.
Yeah.
And that would make sense, except there's some important stuff that happened for humans in Stratholme. Namely Arthas. Although you could argue that maybe the Forsaken have a better claim on Arthas. But I think
does each dungeon have to only be?
I don't think they don't all have to be. I think a lot of them are just for the sake of telling us. So one of the kind of guiding principles for the project is it's not a. It's still a game, and I want people to like while they're listening to it feel like they could be playing it through. But also, I'm just telling a story. So this is like.
Okay, so it's like you're only running the dungeon once.
A little technical difficulty there, but we're back.
So, like, for the sake of the storytelling, then, it's along the lines of, like, you're having, like, whatever, like, with the trying to balance out by races, give everyone their time to shine.
Yeah.
Like, you have that one, like, run it through.
Yeah. And also because, like, the characters, I'm making characters, I don't want... Every time I say this, Hargan gets kind of, like, not apprehensive, but he looks at me like, are you just trying to, like, shove your OCs down people's throats? And you know what? Fair. That's a fair suspicion to have. I made characters to take on like each one of the paths, but I'm not like they're not my OCs. I guess they are, but like because they are characters that I made, but I didn't make them just to be like, look at this cool backstory that I wrote. Look at my lore. Look at my story. I kind of did it to highlight cool stuff. Another cool facet of the world that I couldn't figure out a way to bring in without this. Like it wouldn't come in to the new story I'm telling. And I'm not cutting it or anything, but it's just like otherwise it just remains this piece on the cutting room floor that I can't use any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll start so like on the horde side, right? The main character is an orc shaman. Her name is Magus Coldeye. By the way, all of these names are characters. You play Warcraft 3? If not, it's okay. But so one of the things you can do in Warcraft 3 is you can build hero units to like lead your forces.
Uh-huh.
The main characters that we know, like Arthas, he starts off as one of the hero classes, Paladin. He ends up one of the hero classes, Death Knight. But there's also Archmage, Farseer, which is a shaman. There's Blade Master. That's what Grom is. They were just unit types because it was an RTS. But what you could do when you were playing game maps is you could build heroes, generic heroes who weren't like the named lore characters. So you would summon a generic Blade Master. But they weren't just called Blade Master. They had a pool of random names that you could pull from.
Uh-huh.
I have access to that pool, and so I just pulled these names from that pool. Another way of trying to make them not mine. But like the orc shaman, again, so Farseer, one of the names you could get is Magus Coldeye. So I took that, put it on this. The original horde in like what the timeline would be if it was like Warcraft 2, Warcraft 1, had 14 clans. Like 14 orc clans. Thrall had the Frost Wolves, those are big, we know those. Grom had the War Song. There's others like the Shattered Hand, which is like, oh hey, to join my clan, you have to cut off a body part and replace it with a weapon. Pretty metal, pretty Warhammer. Like, what are some other ones? The Bleeding Hollow also had a self-mutilation ritual. Like, but whatever you sacrifice that let you see a vision. And so their leader, Kilrog Deadeye, Warlocks, I have Kilrog. He sacrificed his eye, so he got to see into the future to get this. I think he got to see his own death or something. I don't remember.
Sucks.
Yeah. It does, but at the same time, while I know how I'm going to die, so I can do anything, knowing that it isn't that moment. Would that pan out? Are we gonna do the math on that? Probably not, but that's how they wrote that character being the way that he was.
I can jump off this cliff because I know that's not how
Because I know
die.
that's exactly, yeah. Don't know how I'm not going to die, but I know how I die, and this ain't it. Cliff dive. Get caught by a giant, like, ostrich or something. What's another one, before I get to the point? The Twilight Hammer. They were an orc clan. They eventually became the Doomsday cult that worships Deathwing and the old gods, but they were an orc clan first.
I thought they worship Cthulhu.
Yeah, he's one of the old gods.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Or
they're also in Black Fathom Deeps.
Yep, yes they are. Let me see. There's Shadow Moon Clan. They were Ner'zhuls. They kind of were the only thing that messed with necromancy on Draenor. Like, so they just had a connection to the souls of the dead. Sort of. I think that came later. I don't know that was original. And it came about because Ner'zhul eventually gets turned into the Lich King in a whole bunch of convoluted nonsense. But anyways, all of these clans went on to do something or matter in some way. Except for one called the Thunderlord clan. And actually, there's another one. There's, again, some mattered more than others. But we know the fate of all of them except the Thunderlord clan. And if you look at all of the chieftains from that era, there's only one chieftain who doesn't have a recorded fate. Like, we don't know what happened to him as the leader of the Thunderlord clan. What the Thunderlords were was like, troll slayers
Uh-huh.
in Warhammer. It's like, where's the biggest, ugliest, most dangerous thing? Now point me at it, and I'm gonna fight it until I die or it dies. And if it dies, I'm gonna go find the next biggest fucking thing, and do it again.
Nice.
That's troll slayers, and the Thunderlords were basically that. They were They were giant slayers. They were monster slayers. They were like, where is the biggest thing? Let's go hunt it and kill it. They were the ones who would like take down the Graan, like Gruul. They're just not in WoW. Like their stronghold is in Burning Crusade. And I think they were said to be turned into like Fel Orcs, but there are no named NPCs that are like Thunderlord Fel Orcs. So there just aren't Thunderlords in the game. So my proposal is that Magus Coldeye was raised by that last chieftain that we don't know what happened to him. He raised her to be the last member of the Thunderlord clan. And so I get to, with this character, who is technically my OC, I get to highlight this cool facet of lore that otherwise isn't going to come in. It's not going to come into my story, and it's definitely not coming into WoW.
Oh, it's also a real easy call to adventure.
Yes.
Hey, let's go to this dungeon with giant thing to kill.
Exactly.
Why not?
Well, so and tying the different characters on each faction together, I made guilds. And that's also kind of how I wanted anyone who happens to be listening or watching, keep yourself in the story. Imagine if you could join the guild, or you didn't join, but imagine you know them and they're calling you to come to the dungeon with them. Because I'm not going to make 10 of these things. I'm not going to make 5. I'm only making 3. I'm making 1 for each race that comes into the game. 3 adventurers, and for the start, I also made 1 crafter for each. Because we gotta give crafters some love. They haven't got any in game. They do all the work. But like that's. But so like in her being like the last member of the Thunderlord clan, she's like, I don't want my clan to die out. Let me take a note from some of the other, like, so the Shattered Hand, right?
Uh-huh.
They stopped being a clan and they became the Horde's spy network. The Twilight's Hammer stopped being a clan and became a Doomsday cult. Not the best example of I mean, it's a good example, but it's not like in the right spirit. So part of what Magus Coldeye does is she's like, my clan is going to die out. I'm the last one. I'm opening up my clan to everyone. My clan is going from being the Thunderlord clan to the Thunderlord to the Thunderlord warband. So now it's a guild.
Uh-huh.
That's sort of what I'm doing. Like I get that they're still OCs. They don't feel like my characters though. Like they feel like a way for me to highlight cool lore.
Yeah, it's a fun way to do it too, making it like opening up like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then it's like you do like the dungeons, and then gains strength, popularity, and then you end up with the raids.
Exactly. Yep.
Huh.
And then you get to have these names doing things. I don't have to keep saying the Heroes of Azeroth or the Adventurers, the nebulous, faceless term that could mean anything that I have to keep designating. The Heroes of Azeroth, the Horde this time. I just be like, the Thunderslayers. Let's go.
Huh.
And I have bits on the Alliance side too. I know you weren't really an Alliance player, but like you know Paladins, yeah?
Yeah.
Paladins weren't invented in World of Warcraft until Warcraft 2, like the Second War, where the leader of the church was like, hey, the orcs have pretty evil magic that we can't seem to like fight. Let's do this. I'm going to take a bunch of priests. I'm going to train them how to fight. And then they'll have the power of fighting and the power of the light, holy light. And that's how you get paladins. And there were 5 from the start. There was Uther the Lightbringer. I assume we know who that is. Okay. Tyrion Fordring. I assume you know who that is. Do you know Turalyon? You might not. He's
Hearthstone.
He's in Hearthstone. He's a big name. He's also one of the 5 statues in Stormwind. Like, when you're walking into Stormwind, you're on that bridge and those big ass statues.
I know that, but I would not know which statue
he's the center one.
Okay.
He's one of the original 5 paladins. He's kind of like the main character of the Alliance at that point because he was the youngest one. with all the doubts, and he ends up with the sexy hot or like elven girlfriend. So he won the second war, is what I'm saying there. But she's also a statue. I could bring up, but like he's one of them. There's also if you did Strathholm, you might remember this name. The one of the others is Sidon Dathrahan. He's a paladin. He is the founder of the Scarlet Crusade.
Oh,
so he went in a little different direction than the others. He ended up a bad guy. But also, by the time we fight him in WoW, he's dead, and he's been possessed by a dreadlord. So big name, kind of a different context. But there's also, I said there's 5, there's also Gavinrad the Dire, famous for nothing. Nothing. He dies with Uther in Warcraft 3.
How do you get the nickname the Dire, though?
I don't know. It's an awesome name.
Nothing.
He's also
what, in dire need of an achievement?
We'll never know. We'll never know what it is. But like, so of the original 5, Warcraft 1 took place in Stormwind, and then Stormwind lost. So everyone runs away and they go to Lordaeron, and that's where Warcraft 2 happens. Gavinrad the Dire is the only one who comes from Stormwind. So he's the only like Stormwind paladin. But he's famous for fucking nothing. He's one of the first original 5 Knights of the Silver Hand. And so I'm not going to change, because he dies. Arthas kills him. He's one of the sub boss fights in that chapter. So I'm not, and the reason that Arthas kills Uther and Gavinrad and about 3 other knights, other paladins, is that they were guarding an urn, and that urn had the ashes of Arthas's father. It was a magical urn that Arthas needed to resurrect Kel'Thuzad. KT.
Yeah.
He found the urn, he dumped out the ashes, he killed the paladins, and he moved on and never... So my thought is, Gavinrad we have 5 paladins, 5 OG paladins, and 4 of them are huge figures, and 1 of them isn't. I'm not going to change the fact that he dies, but what if he had a son? What if he had a son who's also named Gavinrad? Just Gavinrad the Younger. And actually, his name is going to be Jorn, Jorn, the Redeemer, because that is a name that I pulled out of the Paladin pool. But it's just Jorn Gavinrad. So he is Gavinrad's son. He wasn't in Lordaeron because he moved, like, he helped rebuild Stormwind. That's why he starts in Stormwind. And when Warcraft starts, he has been helping rebuild the Kingdom of Stormwind, Northshire Abbey, where humans start. And the guild that he founds, in the same way that Magus Coldeye kind of opens up her clan and makes it a guild, he founds the Knights of the Lost Ashes, for short, Ash Knights. But the Lost Ashes to honor the fall of the Paladins in Lordaeron.
Okay.
It's just a cool way to highlight more lore. Unfortunately, those 2 have the most work, and the others are I kind of can't do anything with the gnomes. There's nothing really to them.
Comic relief.
Pretty much, unfortunately.
That's basically all you got.
So like I said, there's 8 characters, 6 adventurers, and 2 crafters, split evenly. All of them are pulled from the pool of names in Warcraft 3, except the gnome. Because there is no pool of names for gnomes. I even managed to, moving forward, right? Because eventually I'm going to need a Draenei and a Blood Elf character just to tell the stories of those zones. And eventually I'm going to need a Worgen and a Goblin character just to tell the stories of those zones. I pulled names from the pool for all of them. I was able to do it. I was able to fake it. I was like, this could work. Maybe this Worgen was in Dalaran, and maybe he was an Archmage, and that's why he has this name. There's just nothing for gnomes. So I don't know. I here submit to the court. I named him Dexter Dazzlespring. Sounds pretty gnomey, but I will honestly say that's the only name I came up with. And I was just given no other choice. Or no, Dexter Dazzlespark. Because I looked at gnomes. I was like, what's the most common suffix for a last name? And it's Spark. We have Tinkmaster Overspark, Kelsey Steelspark. Like, Spark is a big one. So Dexter Dazzlespark. And I'm sorry. I know that sounds like a Toontown character. That's just how fucking gnomes are. But he's the only one. He's my only pulled out of my brain name instead of tried to distance it from making it mine.
Is he also your crafter?
No. No, he's one of the adventurers. The crafter for the Alliance is named Bandis Forgefire. I thought it was a pretty good craft name. He's a blacksmith. Dwarven blacksmith.
Okay.
Pretty good craft name.
What about for Horde? Who's the crafter?
That's gonna be the troll. Her name is Shakazan.
Shakazan.
Yeah, it's one of the generic names for the Shadowhunter class. Shadowhunter hero class.
What kind of crafter?
So where Bandis Forgefire is a blacksmith, she is an enchanter or alchemist. I haven't decided yet. I think enchanter probably. That way, like each of them can, in their own way, forge armor for their people.
Okay.
And I'm gonna establish these characters, but I'm not gonna dwell on them much. Like I'm not gonna write scenes for them. They're not gonna have like lines. They're just gonna be context makers.
Okay. Now I'm gonna ask. Okay, so
there's a little bit for the undead too. He of all of them, he like those two are the major ones, but he also has a little bit. But go ahead. Like
no, I was gonna ask. Now I'm thinking like earlier in the conversation. Okay, so like classic WoW. So
yes,
like the like competing like races from like each side.
Yeah.
So like what is it? It's so you're saying it's like orc versus night elves?
Yep, orcs and night elves had the greatest tension in vanilla.
Orc is it also orcs and humans?
No, you remember Arathi Basin?
Oh, it's undead and humans.
Yeah, humans and undead.
Okay, and then it's what? Gnomes versus Taurens?
Dwarves and Taurens is kind of implied in the opening cinematic, even though no,
they don't
it's not.
do anything.
The third battleground is Alterac Valley, and actually, chronologically, Alterac Valley was added before Arathi Basin, but
and that is orcs and dwarves.
Orcs and dwarves, yes.
So
orcs get twice, yeah.
It's basically just orcs versus things,
and that actually that's sort of a point that I want to one of my mission statements is from Warcraft 3, where Cairn, the leader of the Tauren, is awesome. He's this old like grizzled bull who's just seen it all, and he's an old man, but he's like a hard as nails warrior. Awesome character who does nothing in Classic, nothing in the Burning Crusade, nothing in Wrath, and then is immediately killed off screen at the start of Cataclysm by Garrosh.
Nice.
I don't know that I can change his fate because of how hard the story relies on it. Without changing this into Warcraft, like written by Weirdo's OC.
So just Warcraft fanfic.
Yeah, I mean, and that's still what I'm doing. I'm not dressing this up like I'm doing some kind of noble art here. I'm writing fan fiction. It just makes me uncomfortable, but it's what it is.
So at one point, does Volpera by the name
of
Zoe Dreamdust come in there?
Zoe Dreamdust the Volpera. I'm writing that down. Because eventually, I haven't gotten this far, and I don't know how I'm going to tackle it, but eventually I have to just do something with the allied races. And like, yeah, Zoe Dreamdust, the Volpera. That's going.
I'm telling you, you said Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Yeah,
that's the original.
That is Mira for sure.
Not the original is not the right way of saying that.
That is
for our age range, our age range, what you would think of when you think of that, you would think of Zoe Deschanel.
Zoe Dreamdust, the Volpera. Now I have to credit you when I write a script.
Nice.
Oh, BFA is a long way off, especially since my job won't give me a break.
Yep.
New job. How a dozen of you who are listening. I love every single one of you, just for the record. But yeah, so like that's what I'm doing with that, and that's sort of why I wanted to rebalance the dungeons. To sort of give each one of these characters a moment in the sunshine. And also, so the people doing it, the race the character representing the like viewpoint of the race. They're doing the dungeon. But it also is an opportunity to what I was just discussing about Cairn. Someone has to give them a quest to go to that dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
It lets you explore that character, highlight that character by their interaction. Be like, hey, I need you to go take out like Serpent Shrine Cavern. Oh, that's BC, but I think I meant to say Black Fathom Depths.
Do you mean to say Wailing Caverns?
Well, Cairn doesn't send anybody to Wailing Caverns. That's Hamul Rune Totem, the first ever Tauren druid. Another prominent character, but
so Wailing Caverns is thus a druid dungeon.
Oh yeah. Dude,
Okay.
So one of the big things in Wailing Caverns, you remember Gnarlex?
Yes.
He's a druid of the Fang. No. Yes. Yeah, druid of the Fang.
I thought the Druid of the Fang were the bad guys and the bosses in.
Yeah. The druid of the Fang. It's so there are many druid forms, and most druids like study one. So the druids of the claw, those are the bear druids. They study the form of the bear. They're one with the bear. Druids of the talons turn into like giant storm crows.
Okay.
I can't ever remember what the cat one is called.
What, Druid of the
Yeah, Druid of the Oh god, Druid of the cheeseburger with a Z.
It just makes me think of, what's it, Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh no.
Wow.
Or what is it?
He's like, wow.
Nicolas Cage, like, I'm a sexy cat. Oh, oh, oh. But no. But yes, Nicolas Cage, cat druid, incoming. That's going to be critical to my phase 3. Eat your heart out, Marvel. Gnarlex is a druid of the Fang. The Fangs studied the form of the serpent, which is one of the forbidden forms. And in the process, they were doing it in the Wailing Caverns. Gnarlex specifically gets possessed by the nightmare.
Okay.
And that's why the Wailing Caverns is the way that it is. Because it's them doing illegal druid experiments.
So just them doing drugs in the cavern?
Yeah. I don't know if there are... I mean, I don't know if... Yes, that is what I mean now.
Emerald
yes.
Nightmare.
Emerald
so
Nightmare.
Doing
Just doing a little
doing
EN.
shrooms in the cavern.
Hey, man, Zangamarsh.
They're all just having a bad trip. That's all it is.
That is pretty accurate to the Nightmare as a whole. Like, the Emerald Nightmare is a horrible trip.
Like, hey man, eat this mushroom and turn into a snake with me.
That is so... I don't think I'd put that into words yet, but that is so how much I want to... Because something I don't like, as soon as you get the WoW cosmology, do you know anything about that? I'm not going to explain it if you don't.
I don't.
That's fine. But, like, at a certain point, when designing WoW, and I think the idea was not meant for this. I kind of discussed that in one of my scripted videos, but I don't think it was meant for this. But the effect of it is that all things in WoW get boiled down into 6 things. So you are either of the light, of the old gods, of the Emerald Dream, of the undead, of the titans, or of the demons.
Okay.
At a certain point, that's what happens to WoW. I don't like it. Because the Emerald Nightmare used to be something really creepy that we didn't understand about the Emerald Dream, which was this verdant... Calling it the plane of life is too bent to what it is currently. Like, but it was just this mysterious, nature-aligned... It was basically the Feywilds.
Okay.
That's what it used to be. And then the Emerald Nightmare was like the dangerous aspect of that people didn't understand. Now it's just old god corruption. The old gods...
Ew.
Even the old gods used to be like, oh man, the old gods. Like these whispering Cthulhu monstrosities that are so big they're part of the earth itself that we cannot fathom them, and then we blow one up with a Kamehameha blast. It's... part of... I mean, I want to complain. Part of this is just the natural progression of a story that's running out of places to go. We have been adventurers for... If there was no level squish, I think we'd be close to like 180. I think we might be 200 by now. I mean, I can do the math. It's We start at 60 in Vanilla, 70 in Burning Crusade, 80 in Wrath, 85 in Kata, 90 in Panda, 100 in WoD, 110 in Legion. No.
I think it was, yeah.
Wouldn't it be, wasn't it 120 in Legion?
I don't know. I thought it was 110.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe. I know we got to 120. Did we get to 120? Hold on, I'm gonna math again. Are you ready? Put on your math helmet.
No.
Fair enough. 60. 70 in Burning Crusade. 80 in Wrath. 85 in Kata. 90 in Panda. 100 in WoD. Yeah, so it would have had to be... Because I know 100 was WoD. I remember that. So 110 would have to be Legion. And then...
Then what? Just extra 10? Every expansion after that?
I think we got to 120 in BFA, and then they squished it. Because they squished it... It was weird because I knew that the new max would be 60, so it made sense to squish it at 120. But they squished it to 50. so that we could then level up to 60.
Weird.
Yeah. But then, so that would have been 110, then 120. Then Shadowlands would be 130, Dragonflight would be 140. War Within, we would be 150 right now. And by the end, midnight, it's going to be 160, and then 100. We would be 170 by the end of what I plan to do. Oh, damn. That almost makes me want to keep going till 200.
That'd be kind of fun if they had talent trees still.
Oh my god. They do. No, they brought talent trees back.
No, if they had the one where you're getting one every level,
Lord.
but you're at 120. You're like, just going all the way down.
One for each spec, so that's... Oh god, we're up to 13 classes at least. It might be 14, but then 3 specs for each. 2 for Demon Hunter, but 4 for Druid, so it still evens out. God, that just gave me... Like, I just glimpsed into eternity. I remembered we're mortal, and it made me afraid.
Oh, man.
But yeah, man, like... How did we get on that? What was I talking about?
You're talking about the Emerald Dream.
Oh, yeah, the Emerald Nightmare. It used to feel scarier than it ended up being. And I kind of want to help... I want to preserve that in a way.
Well, then you can't kill like old gods and stuff like that. You gotta...
Well, I'm not necessarily agreeing that I'm going to. I
or
think...
you gotta like... It has to be like the visage of them, or like the shade of them. It can't be like the...
How it was explained...
I killed Cthulhu.
How it was explained once was that we were killing like an avatar, and that we might have slain their consciousness temporarily, but that they, even while they were dead, they were still alive. That was how it was explained once. I believe they've retconned that, because I think they're all just dead now.
Ow.
Which, not quite as good. So when I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, but I have plans for it.
Oh, that does sound a lot scarier though. The idea of like that you can never really kill it. You just make it go to sleep for a bit.
The one that was killed was the one in Pandaria, and they explained this.
Yasharaj.
Yes, you might find this interesting. You might not. You might be tired and ready to go home. He was killed by the leader of the Titans, and Titans can like cut planets in half with swords. That's how big they are. He reached down with his fist, grabbed the old god, and pulled him out, and it caused so much damage to the planet that it made the Well of Eternity. The original one. Like the thing that Sargeras tried to enter through. Like, that's where that came from the hole that got left by them extracting one of the old gods. That's why he's the only one who was dead, and the others had to be imprisoned. Because killing them caused too much damage to the world. And I thought that was a good loophole. Like, that's a good... They should not have gotten rid of that. Because now, with the new narrative, we have to face the reality that any one of the Titans could have taken a big meat cleaver and cut our entire existence in half. All of Azeroth could have been cleaved in half by any one of these Titans. And they were not able to kill the old gods because it might have damaged the planet too much. but we can kill the old gods with our item level 266 green pants. We can totally kill the old gods and our stupid necklace, our stupid yo-yo that we got in Battle for Azeroth. That's how we kill an old god. We can totally do it. It's fine. The Titans can't. We can. And I am sure someone can explain away why, but they're wrong and that's dumb.
Yeah. It's a lot more fun if just imprisoning him, like AQ40, where it's like that you're just.
Yeah.
It's basically like just smacking Cthulhu back into the weird darkness he's coming out from.
Exactly.
You're like, hey, get back in there.
Yep. We did the same with Yogg-Saron and Ulduar, one of the best raids ever.
Did he have like the chains on him too or something?
Yeah, he was the one who was all mouths.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, get back in there.
And like his prison was made of like these crazy stained glass walls, and like when you're going in, they're shattered, and the floating glass like forms the step. It was great stuff, good visuals, and because we didn't know what they were yet, they weren't over explained. And I don't know how to, no matter what I do, we can't put that back in the box. I could be like, oh, in my world, you don't know what they are, but you'll be listening, and you'll be like, yeah, but I know what they are, like, because you're writing fan fiction, and I have access to the notes from the world you're basing it off of.
Well,
so
man.
I have a plan for it, but I can never fully fix it.
Yeah, sounds like you just gotta like figure a way how to like mysterious them up.
Yep, and I have something. I won't reveal it quite yet, but I have something. But yeah, so that's part of what I want to do. Is one, I want to make them all feel less like variables. Like you are power A6, all right, and now we're designating you power. That means that the Nightmare is A5, and we'll stick him in your quadrant of the hexagon. I want the Nightmare to feel like scary again. Like it can. I don't mind if it originated from the old gods, like the old gods whispered to something, and that's what helped warped this part of the dream. That'd be fine. But I don't want us to understand that it's just, oh yeah, I seeped some of my old gods come into the Emerald Dream, and now it's gross and thorny. And I'm actually going to do that with a character called Il'gynoth, who isn't an old god, but he's a fan favorite, because he gives all the fun prophecies. It's like, the King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. It's like, then we spend years and countless hours on YouTube being like, which one is the King of Diamonds? Is it Magni? Because he's a king and he's made of diamond now? And who made him a pawn? Like, yes, that's what we meant. They don't. Oh, they. I'm gonna introduce him a little bit earlier so we get more of those. I'm gonna get to write some of my own.
Nice.
Just for fun.
Okay, so wait, so whose dungeon is Zul'Farrak then?
Zul'Farrak is gonna be the trolls.
Nice.
Oh, but since the trolls aren't the adventurers, it's gonna be the orc working as a proxy for the troll.
Okay.
Yeah. That's also gonna be, I think, where because they're not all gonna converge at the same time, so I think the orc and the tauren are gonna converge at that dungeon.
Who gets BFD then?
Black Fathom Depths?
Yeah.
That is gonna be Night Elf.
Okay. Butt fuck deeps.
Yeah, but that's yep, yes. And then one of the things I'm doing that I'm going to try to get into, it'll probably happen in the next scripted video one day. It pains me that I don't get to work on them as much as I want to.
Well, you have a job.
I do have a job, and that job is paying me very well. To give up all my dreams.
Very needy.
Oh, it's so needy. Good Lord. I miss when I was a drone. I was getting paid the same. Just they were like, we need more from you. Okay. Fine. My ridiculous salary. It's not even that good. But
who gets Alderman?
Zulaman?
No, Alderman.
Alderman. The gnome as a proxy for the dwarf.
Okay.
Because that's very much a dwarven dungeon. Like the dwarves, especially like that's actually a pretty modern thing. War Within is very much the dwarf expansion, although they're doing it through the earthen instead of the dwarves. But the dwarves, even in classic, they were like, let's switch our focus from mining to archaeology, we're going to be the race that studies the Titans. And the Titans back then were not the Order faction. They were just these huge giants, these colossals who built robots. So when you encountered sci-fi in WoW, it was the Titans or the Gnomes.
Huh.
And actually the Gnomes descend from Titan constructs, so it was always the Titans.
Who gets RFK?
RFK. Rage...
Fire Crawl.
Razorfen.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Razorfen Crawl.
Orcs. I actually really like that because there's not a clear designation for why any one race should get them.
Yeah, I know, it's just Quillbore.
Yeah. So my justification for it being like kind of the orc dungeon is Thrall teaches peace. He teaches like, we got to go back to our shamanistic roots, and that's good. And the orcs are embracing it. And the orcs are a culture. They've reclaimed their honor. They've reclaimed their dignity. At the same time, they are a culture of warriors, and they need a war, and they need an enemy to fight. So I like the idea that the battle for Durotar and the Barons, I'm certain they would have tried diplomacy with the Quillbore, and the Quillbore would have been like, nah, fuck you, we're going to wipe out your entire race. And from there, it's just like, well, that's a relief. Now we get to fight a war. So the crux of the story of Razorfen, both Downs and Krull, is the war between the orc nation of Durotar and the Razorfen Quillbores. I think it can be a lot of fun, that idea.
Who gets RFD then?
RFD, Razorfen. If they're subsection dungeons, I combine them. So Razorfen Down and Razorfen Krull both gonna be one story.
So then Scarlet Monastery.
All undead. You get all 4 of them. But I do think that I have to split Skullomance, and I think maybe that's a good idea.
You can also split.
Oh, sorry, not Skullomance, Stratholme. Skullomance is entirely
Yeah, well,
undead.
you got live side, dead side.
And I think that works. I think also that I'm going to have to do that with Sunken Temple. I don't know how yet, but... Because it was going to be the Alliance dungeon to counteract the Horde dungeon being Stratholme. But if I split Stratholme, I'd need to split that as well. Just for the symmetry.
I don't... Thinking about it, I feel like you could... you could have the Alliance deal with the Shade. So,
That's true.
The Emerald Nightmare, and then you have, the Trolls come in and be like, hey, well...
Deal with the Avatar of Hakar.
Yeah, kind of like the, hey, guys, I know, they took care of this, but they're forgetting that the entire point of this place, which is to summon Hakar.
Yeah.
Let's deal with.
Exactly, yeah. And that makes good foreshadowing for what will eventually be Zul'Gurub. I think that's solid.
Yeah. So they don't have to be some crazy long thing.
No, yeah.
It'd be so I can't remember Sunken Temple. So you have all the trolls with Hakar, and then you have the Emerald Nightmare.
Yeah. That's a pretty I need to write this down. That's a pretty solid duality.
Are they competing against each other? I think that was a cat.
Okay, I was about to say, I know that wouldn't have picked up on the microphone, but it sounded like some kind of strange amphibious frog dolphin outside, and it might have been a cat.
I don't. I know for the point of it being a dungeon, the mobs aren't going to fight each other, but
no, but
you have that kind of be a thing. You have
for a narrative,
and it kind of helps keep them off of summoning Hakar, because it's now you have all the trolls having to fight off the Emerald Nightmare for some weird reason.
Yeah, and because I know the Green Flight would have gone there. The reason the temple is sunken is Ysera was like, nah, and just smashed the temple into the bog. But then the reason that would be the reason Aranicus is there. That's a whole cool twist. It just melds everything together. I like that.
Yeah, and then they're fighting each other, and then whoever ends up, if you have the Alliance go there first, suddenly they take care of the Green Flight.
Yeah.
Then it gives the trolls the room to start focusing really on Hakar, because they're no longer being held back by the Emerald Nightmare. So then you have the Horde come in, or you can reverse it.
I might have them go there at the same. So this is sort of where it all, and this is kind of. It's not exactly the pinnacle, but it's quite I'm splitting. I have to. There's being generous. There's only 7 major lore patches in Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Not being generous, there's 12. But like, there's 7 major beats I have to hit after launch. So I have to split this up into 2 videos, and I think the pinnacle of the first half of my Classic video, the first raid tier in this new like we're starting over. It is essentially Classic Plus, though I've always hated that idea, even though that's what I'm doing. Like, so the first raid tier of this channel, Azeroth Rewritten Classic Plus, is going to be Alterac Valley. So it is a raid, a competing raid where one side goes in on the other side, and if I were making it a game, I probably wouldn't actually have it be literal players competing, but the thematic idea is these two are going to clash. And the final bosses would be Drekthar and Vandar Stormpike, but also narratively in there, these two guilds that I've created are gonna, like, they're gonna meet, they're gonna fight. And I like the idea that maybe this is the first time they fight, but maybe they see each other before in Strathholm and in Sunken Temple. Like, maybe they witness, like, they don't ever have an interaction, but like they are made aware of each other. And then the first real friction point is going to be in Alterac Valley. At least collectively, because Warsong Gulch is going to happen, and that means the Orc and the Night Elf are going to fight. And Arathi Basin is going to happen, and that means that the human and the undead are going to fight.
Okay, then you get Alterac.
Mm-hmm. And that is our final raid of, let's say, launch Classic. If I was going to give it a chapter name, it's called The Drums of War.
Mm-hmm. Then what after that you got?
So, one of the things I need to do, I have some ideas on this. It's getting a bit late, so we might not get into it this time. But the next raid patch that comes out. So, Molten Core was not available on launch, but it was pretty close.
Uh-huh.
It might have been. If it wasn't on launch, it was available on a patch that didn't really have a name. But it was the first 40. It was the first raid that was Molten Core.
Mm-hmm.
I think on Nixia's Lair may have launched at the same time. But on Nixia's Lair was a single boss.
Yeah. So I know you have, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to, just from playing when they brought back Classic, you got Phase 1, so that's Anixia, Molten Core.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go into Phase 2, so BWL.
Yep.
Then Phase 3, which I'm pretty sure is just...
See, that's it right there, Blackwing Lair. That's the next chapter. But what I plan to do is, if we take Molten Core and we pick it up for a second, we pull it out of the equation. If Alterac Valley is the first raid piece, the next chapter is going to be Black Rock Mountain in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you have in Black Rock Mountain is amazing. You have Dark Iron Dwarves. So you have the evil dwarf clan of the 3 dwarf clans. Yeah. And the Emperor and that's in Black Rock Depths. You also have Black Rock Spire with Rend Blackhand, the son of the first ever Horde war chief.
Uh-huh.
And actually what I'm going to do, they were originally written when they were created. Rend Blackhand was part of a duo. It was Rend and Maim Blackhand. They were the 2 sons of the warrior, of the war chief. Maim dies off screen, and it's never explained how or why. I'm just gonna retcon that. That's just, that fight is gonna be the 2 of them. They are the 2 war chiefs of the Dark Horde, sitting in Blackrock Spire.
Mm-hmm.
So while the Alliance is fighting into the depths, the Horde is climbing up the top.
Oh, would you give the Alliance Nixia then?
The Alliance get Anixia, and I'm giving the Horde...
Because of the whole, like, Dead Mind stuff and her trying to...
Her being Katrina Prestor in Stormwind. Yeah. So they're going to get her, and actually, the comics gave her to Vary and Rin. Like, they don't even let us take credit for it. I'm going to let us be there. but I'm gonna have Varian also be involved.
So if the Alliance are going down and the Horde are going up, it's like the Alliance will be dealing with the Dark Iron Dwarves,
Yes.
Ragnaros, and the Horde will be going Rend, BWL.
The Horde will be going Rend, and the Horde are going to get Nefarian. They're both... The first time they ever have to team up to fight something is going to be Ragnaros. And I like the idea that the Alliance fights its way down, they deal with Dagran, and then they see the entrance to Molten Core, and they got to deal with it. But that... They get in there, and it's like... They're in the Molten Core, and it's just causing all these reactions. And the Horde are up top in Blackrock Spire, and they look down, and they can see the Molten Core from the top of Blackrock Mountain, because it's a volcano.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we think the Thunder Slayers are going to do? They're going to jump into the fucking volcano. They, like... I just think thematically that's awesome. And so the first time they ever have to fight side by side... Because that's the story of WoW, is that we fight. Oh, that's bigger. All right, let's team up. We'll fight again tomorrow. That's WoW. They're currently losing faction identity, and I hate it. I understand for convenience in the modern gaming world, you want to play an orc, your friend wants to play a night elf. You still want to be able to play dungeons together. Fine.
Now, so long your friend.
That is the correct answer. That is the correct answer. I'm trying to be reasonable. I wish I wasn't. But I understand progressing and whatever. Modern people want that. I don't think it should give up what it means to be Horde or what it means to be Alliance, because that was such a fundamental thing.
Yeah, it was you being forced to have to, like, barter with your friends, whoever you're playing with.
Exactly. You had to make PowerPoints and case studies like, this is why we should be Alliance, guys. Because this is the faction that the one girl plays.
Yeah, and then you have like your whole idea of like, okay, yeah, guys, we should play Alliance. Like, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play this class. I have it all mapped out. But in the back of your head, you got the backup plan.
Yep.
Like, okay, if I'm forced to go Horde,
yeah.
I will be okay if I do this.
I had a troll ready to go just in case I had to change.
Yeah.
And like back then I liked ridiculous words. So like I don't want to reveal the name of my original character just for whatever reasons, but like it was a silly name of like a crazy instrument. And then I was like, okay, I need an alternative, and I made a troll named Chimichanga. I was like, this yeah. But part of, again, the first fight is going to be Ultrake Valley. The first fight where everyone cooperates, that is going to be Blackrock Mountain, specifically Molten Core. But like, it's going to be the whole part of this big Blackrock Mountain chapter. What that means is throughout all of Launch Classic, all of just the questing zones, I need to put a bigger emphasis on the manipulations of Black Dragons. So like, the Alliance, we have that. We have Onyxia being Onyxia.
Yeah, you have dead minds.
Yep. Yep, because she was the one who manipulated the Defias. I never know how to say that. It's probably Defias. That sounds right. But I think I grew up saying Defias. Defias. It's definitely Defias because they're defiant.
What'd she do for the Horde?
She did nothing for the Horde. Hence, my idea. So...
Then why do we go kill Onyxia?
Big dragon.
That's it.
Her lair is on Kalimdor. Although the part of Kalimdor it's on is where Jaina lives. So, I don't know. My thoughts on it... I mean, right, why would you go? But then, see, why would we go to Ragefire Chasm? We can do that.
Oh, yeah, you just have the Alliance go into Orgrimmar.
Yeah. I mean, most of us will die along the way. There's no real benefit to us doing so, but we could do it. Same thing with Onyxia, really, I guess. You're doing it for gear. You need them sweet dragon pants.
I know, it's for the necklace. That's what
it was.
Oh, yeah,
the necklace. But, yeah, and so one of the sources I'm drawing on, we won't get too much more into it. It's about time to wrap up, but like, I completely ignored this when it was happening, and now it's not happening anymore. But for a long time, when WoW was not being WoW, for some reason, Hearthstone was being WoW. And I'm not a fan of deck builders. I don't know if you are. Do you like card games like Magic the Gathering, stuff like that? Okay, I'm not a fan either. I don't enjoy playing them. I'll play them every now and then. It can be kind of amusing. It's just not my preferred style of game. I respect the people who do. They're very difficult, and it's a huge.
I like Slay the Spire.
Yeah, okay. It's Hearthstone's pretty similar to that, from what I understand.
I've played Hearthstone before, but I feel like the moment you start playing with other players, it gets way too long.
Oh yeah, but like outside of the gameplay, the trailers, like what they were doing with the Warcraft IP, they were like, "Hey guys, remember when WoW? Like, remember when Warcraft was fun? Remember when we just did things and we just had fun?" Like as soon as we cut, because I don't want to like I'm gonna show you one of the trailers, and like it's only a minute 14 seconds long, but it's like, wow, that's incredible, and it doesn't fit with the current theme of WoW, but it's a lot more fun than the current theme of WoW. If anyone's wondering, I'm talking about the Saviors of Uldum. Like, that is an insane bit of content that I wish was in WoW.
I know that.
Yeah. Or like Scholomance they did a Scholomance expansion pack with card sets.
No, I know that.
Yeah. I bring all of this up to say there's a character exclusively in Hearthstone named Kazakis.
Yeah.
Yeah, the troll dragon. Guess who's in WoW now, baby? I need to do a little bit more. It's not enough to just add one, but he is gonna be the thing manipulating the horde on that side, and I think I'm gonna tie him back to Onyxia, so that she still gets because I mean, again, we need that symmetry at least for a while. I think because I think Classic is all about the faction symmetry, and I'm not always gonna stick to this. There won't always be some expansions the Alliance is gonna shine, some expansions the Horde is gonna shine, but like in the beginning, I think they need to be like that fixed symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
So the Blackrock depth, or the Blackrock Mountain experience is the Alliance get a dragon, then they go fight a dungeon. The Horde get a dungeon, then they go fight a dragon. Then everybody fights Ragnaros.
So that mean AQ, they'd all fight Cthulhu together?
Eventually, AQ is actually really convenient for me because it has two different dungeons.
Oh.
There's the ruins of there's the city of Encourage, and then Encourage, the temple of Encourage.
Yeah.
So
AQ 20, AQ 40.
Exactly.
AQ 20. Man, I can't believe I forgot the last boss. Was the last boss the? The last boss in AQ 20? Was it the? I can't remember. Just the order in which it was done. Oh no, I remember now. It was the giant It was the giant statue thing where like the Egyptian
Osirian
statue.
or Osiris or something.
Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, Osirian.
Yes, and that's a great final boss. From a lore perspective, it's probably General Rajax. Does that ring a bell? He was like the black big beetle with the claw.
Yes.
And he inches out every other boss in terms of lore relevance by 1 point, which is to say they all have 0 and he has 1 point. He is mentioned in the backstory of Fandral Staghelm. Does that name? It shouldn't. He's mentioned in a character's backstory, which is more than any other character has. But I imagine what I'm going to do with that is I'll probably give Rajax to the Horde, and then at the end they will both fight Cthulhu. I'll probably do that again, because I'm not giving an old god to one side or the other. But Rajax probably go to the Horde. I think I'll have them both fight the Twin Emperors too. That's kind of a symbolic thing.
Yeah.
I don't know who.
Like we will come together to kill the boss before Cthulhu.
Yeah, and then they see Cthulhu and they're like, "Wow!" And then I would imagine that'd just be like a mad scramble dash. Cthulhu is supposed to be like the god of madness.
Yeah.
So it's just insane.
ZG, I assume, would be Horde.
Zul'Gurub would be primarily Horde. I think they would both have to be involved, and I have it planned out. The chieftain who I have written down somewhere, but I don't remember his name. The chieftain probably the Horde would take. Jindo the Hexer, which is like a bonus boss, although he's the final boss in Kata. Probably the Alliance. And then, yeah, the final boss, they come together again. It's just a theme for WoW.
Yeah.
And until I get to a more... I think I have to get out of Classic before I can start giving them entire raids. Like, right when you get to Outland, there's a lot of raids on launch that I can give. Like, okay, you can probably take Vash, and you can probably take Kael'thas. Speaking of that, when I do finally get to BC, I'd like to bring you back. BC is where I consider, like, my big plans. I've told you about some of them.
Yes.
And I
do like BC.
That's a great expansion. It's also still very quintessentially vanilla. It's just vanilla with sprinkles. Like,
yeah, that was Classic Plus.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Wrath is, I think, where you start to get a lot more, was it divisive, as you have, like, the Wrath babies, people called it.
Yeah, Wrath, I mean, Wrath is when gameplay started to change a little bit. I mean, you could argue that things changed in BC. I would just say that they added more. There were definitely fundamental changes, but it still was the same game. Some gameplay started to change in Wrath, especially because we had a new class. You can add races all day; they don't really change much.
No,
the racials kind of did back in the day, but not really. They did it the highest end of rating. Like,
yeah, it's just for min maxing.
Yeah, exactly. And min maxers.
Like early, like even classic, classic, like the +5 weapon skill.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a bad example because that actually did make a actually I won't say massive. It was basically like if you had the weapon skill, your 1 gear slot was no longer dedicated to weapon skill.
Maybe I just wish that the racials didn't matter, and I'm misremembering that because now the more I think about it, like, it did kind of matter.
It's like, how I remember it is PvP. It really mattered.
It really mattered. Oh, dude, Escape Artist as a gnome was
I guess it really mattered in that there were certain classes with incredibly strong, like, racials that made the difference in PvP.
Yeah,
my brother would be a good one to talk to about that because
I want to bring
how he explained it. I think how he explained it. I think like Gnome was like a solid one.
Gnome was solid.
How he explained it is like that is a free trinket.
Yeah,
that is a trinket on a 1 minute cooldown.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my god, the Escape Artist was incredible, and like, it's so wild to think about because it's so silly, but like they just had a smaller hitbox. Like, I don't know, because now we have tab targeting, and I feel like we had it back then, but I don't remember. And like, but like, you had to click on who you wanted to fight, and you just couldn't click the stupid little bastards.
Yeah. Then Orc 30% stun resist,
also great,
which would make rogues and paladins very sad.
Yeah. Oh, did I love making rogues sad? I was a warlock. I didn't get to do it much, but when I did.
And then Undead with the Will of the Forsaken, which was I'm going to make a priest or a warlock unhappy.
Yep. It also, like, their unending breath mattered a lot more than you'd expect. I remember that in Arathi Basin. Like, I needed it to hide.
I'm telling you, Curry would be a good one to ask about.
Curry would be fun.
PvP.
Curry would be fun to bring on. I really want to, like, Hargan was the big PvPer. And, like, he still kind of is. And, like, but, like, that was never my speed. Like, I made it to Knight Commander once. That was about the extent. But, like, I would love to do just, like, a whole podcast where we just let the PvPers go nuts and talk about... Because the PvP game that I got into was Guild Wars 2. Mm-hmm. And I got war stories. And they are fun war stories. I don't really have that for WoW, but I imagine they do, and I would love to give them the chance to just sit and explain.
He granted rank 14, so that was one unhealthy amount of playing.
Yeah, that is a lot.
So yeah, just FYI, if you think of rank 14 and you're like, huh, everyone coming together making arbitrary honor caps. That's really dumb. That goes against the point of the game. Until you think of, okay, if one guy decides the honor cap is 15,000 or like whatever it is, now everyone who wants to keep up has to hit 15,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, so thus by making arbitrary honor caps, it gave people a semblance of life, and thus they didn't have to play 20 hours a day.
Didn't work.
No.
They found new ways to be devoid.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, like Curry. I'd have Curry on. Curry, Hargan, and Will from school. I talked to him about this. I haven't heard from him basically since, but like he was really excited when I mentioned this idea. He's like, I think of all of us, he would be the only one who played since day one launch.
Yeah,
because he's that old.
Old man.
Old man Will. I'll come up with a pseudonym for him eventually. But damn,
Old Willie.
But all right, hey, I think it's about that time. We stayed up pretty late.
Oh, and I'm sure this has been going on. This one clip is.
One clip is going to be my longest one. Let's hope it's
like 60 minutes.
Let's hope it's good quality, because if it's not, I don't want to lose another 90 minutes of audio. I did that last time. I wasn't on the spot with the timer. But anyways, thank you for stopping by. If you managed to make it to the end, we appreciate you.
Nice if you did.
Oh wow! I usually sign off with Hargan giving a catchphrase like Hargan Smash, Big Marsh, the Marshman, Big Marsh. I don't know. Say it, make up a catchphrase and then say it.
I'm not gonna. It's gonna be. I'm going home and I'm going to bed.
I'm going home and I'm going to bed. Indeed. Bye, everybody.